All right, welcome back. Now we're gonna create the start making our cave. So let me get out of this guy. We're making a new file. So you're gonna go to the little paper icon, press new part, and let's get started. So we know that, um, at least for me, so I'm gonna try and make this so that anyone can make it out of a cardboard box, right? But I didn't have a bunch of cardboard boxes lying around, so I'll leave the link in the description or somewhere where you could, if you want to do the same as me. I basically just bought these like cardboard panels, these like, I don't know, used for shipping, I guess, or arts and crafts. And I'm gonna try and use the like few as these as possible to design this thing so anyone can make it out of a box. But we know that my cardboard rectangle. Let me measure it just to make sure. But this is a. I'm just using some tape measure here. This is about 9 inches by 6 inches. And then this is obviously a 3D object, right? It has thickness to it, right? So there's a thickness as well. So I'll leave this up all the time just to like on my other screen, just to like if I need to convert like inches to millimeters. So we said 9 by 6, right? So 228.6 by 152.4. So let's start by, so this is where you're going to start following around or following me, designing with me as you're watching the video. So let's make a sketch. We're going to start with the front door or the front entrance to our cave, right? So let's start by making a sketch, and it's going to ask us which sketch we want it on, or which plane we want the sketch on. So we go to the front plane. So now we're snapped to the front plane. So you always want to try and build around the origin, just in case you want to like mirror parts later down the line. Always try and build around the origin. That's a good generic rule. So because I want to build around the origin, I'm going to do, instead of a corner rectangle like this, I'm going to do a center rectangle. So my piece of cardboard was 9 by 6. So we said that's 9 inches is 228.6. So we know our rectangle is 9 by 6. So we said 9 inches. If I use the converter, is 228.6. So I press D and then I dimension this 228.6. And then this side is 6 inches is 152.4 millimeters. 150 152.4. So that's set. That's one piece of our rectangle, right? And then this is a good tool to have. You don't have to have it. You can just use tape measure if you want for this, but they're just calipers so you can like easily measure like the thickness of things or measure anything really. So this piece of cardboard is about 2.8 millimeters thick. So we have our sketch fully defined. And now we're going to add thickness to our sketch that we created in the 2D plane. So we're going to extrude this guy out. And we just measured the thickness, and we said our thickness is 2.8 millimeters. You just type that in. Boom. Okay. So this is just the front window of our entrance, right? So now we need to add the actual entrance to our cave. So what are we going to do? We're going to create a new sketch, and it's going to ask for a plane. And now that we have parts, we can pick things on our part to base the rest of our model on. So we basically want to cut out a portion of the front window. So let's do that. So now we're going to snap to this window. All right. Also, before I forget, let's save our part. So this SOLIDWORKS maker version is a little weird. It's like, oh, you can save to the cloud or whatever. I don't ever do that. I just always save it to my PC. So I press save to this PC. And in terms of saving your parts, Here's what I do. I'll do so what I call this is going to be like our master model where like most of the modeling goes on in our parts. And I'll explain what that means a little bit later, but for now, we're going to type um let's see. We'll type cave, a little description of whatever you're building, right? Cave master, and then I'll just do space and then rev 1. So that's revision 1. So if we ever want to, I'll show you how to do this later, but you can save all your parts as a different revision. So you have your old revision just in case you want to make a bunch of big changes, but you still want to keep your old work just as reference. If you make a mistake or something to look back on, it's good practice. So this is going to be Rev 1, but if we ever want to increment up and make bigger changes, we'll go to Rev 2, and then we have Rev 1 to look back on if we want something to reference. That's Rev 1. All right, so this is our master. So now we need to cut out the entrance to our cave, right? So we press sketch, and then we need to make a entrance to our cave. Or sorry, we need to pick a plane that the cave goes on. So now that we have geometry built, we can click this front face, and boom, it's going to snap. Okay, so here's the question, right? So cave entrance kind of looks like a circle. Draw something like this. But like how big do we make the cave entrance? It's a little random. It's up to your own decisions, right? We can dimension it and tell it where to go. I want to make my cave so I can sort of, or cave entrance sort of, so I can fit my hand through and grab treasure. So that'll be a good indication of how big to make this measurement, right? So my hand, I'll just take a little tape measure, right? So my hand is about, I don't have the biggest hands ever, but it's about like 105-ish millimeters, right? If I just go like this and measure, you can just copy me if you want. You don't have to measure your own hand. It's up to you. So I'm gonna make the diameter of this circle 105. So I press dimension and then I click the circle, and now I'm gonna press 105. So now we have a circle that's still blue because we haven't told the software where the position of the circle is gonna be, but we've um, defined exactly how big the circle is gonna be. So there's a couple of other things we need to do. We need to tell it where is this circle gonna be in space. So let's say we wanted a certain distance from this edge on the corner, right? So I'm going to make a point. I'm going to click point and then click this side. So now I can pick this with the dimension tool. So I click that and then I click this edge. And now I can tell now I can tell it how far away from the edge of the cave wall I want this to be. So let's just pick 50. Right? And then let's do the same thing with the top, right? Let's say, I don't know, the cave entrance to be like 90. All right. So that's set, right? So now we fully define the sketch. Everything's black. So now we press exit sketch, and now we want to cut this out of our existing part. So we press extrude cut. Um, so I'll show you a couple of what these other features mean. So blind just means you define how far this goes by typing in a number, let's say 5, or by like pulling this arrow out, right? And then the number will change correspondingly in the feature tree. So that's what blind is. Through all basically means whatever you have there, it'll just make it cut all the way through. Through all both means it'll also go in the opposite direction all the way through. Up to next, I don't always use this. It's a little bit finicky, but it'll go up to whatever like the next surface is behind it. Up to vertex is kind of useful, but it's the same thing as up to surface, which I'll show you how to use. Sometimes I use this. So This is another way that you cut through, but we're just going to use blind. So up to surface basically just means you click whatever surface you want it to cut up through. So we click the front surface, we want it to cut to the back surface. So in this dialog box, hit the back surface and then press the check mark and it'll go through. If we want to change that, we can also go offset from surface, up to body, mid plane. Those are, I don't really use those. So, okay, so let's accept that. So up to surface works. I just want to show you how that feature works. And then most of the time you're using blind, right? And then you can also do the other direction if you want. So I'm just going to check this off for now because we're only cutting in one direction. And this doesn't have to be that big. Just go like 5. Okay, so now we have one piece of cardboard with the hole cut out. I'll see you in the next part, and we'll start working on building the cardboard around it.